So we are here back, Cheap Shots Boxing, another edition, post Riyadh season and post big announcements. How we doing, Ruben? How we doing, Serge?
Oh, good brother. How are you?
Outstanding by improving.
Good.
As I say, every day above ground's a good one, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, so wow. Do you know what? It feels like so much has happened since we last caught up. From like Riyadh season's action, in terms of obviously that was the greatest card of all times, and or no, fight card of the century. I think they called it. And again, it did deliver from start to finish. What's your first thoughts in terms if you were to pick out favorite fight of the night for whatever reason, whether it's the best fight, just favorite fight on that card, fight card of the century, who'd you give it to?
I mean, for me,
Saj?
I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm gonna say Smith Buatsi. Actually,
Mm,
Yeah,
it wa-
exactly the same.
they both went to war, and they didn't leave uh, anything kind of out there. All I would say is it's potentially open to a rematch as well because I think on another day Buatsi could nick it.
mm,
All he's got to do is turn around two close rounds, and it's in his favor. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it did anything kind of negatively for Joshua, really,
mm,
in my opinion. Um, uh, Callum Smith might not want it. He is mid-30s after all. He's done everything. He's won what he needed to win. Um, but yeah, for me, that was definitely the fight of the card, and it was an early one, right? So
mm.
yeah, unfortunately I had to watch it on the Sunday because I had some family emergencies come up in the early afternoon kind of thing, or say late afternoon, even early evening. But yeah, I ended up watching the earlier part of the card on the Sunday, and definitely worth the wait.
Mm, definitely. How about you, Ruben?
100%
What did you think of it?
same. Same. White Smith, White Sea. Every round they just stood there toe to toe and just absolutely went to town. Like
Mm.
the sixth round, that's round of the year.
Yeah.
That was round
Oh.
of the year for me. That was round of the year. Smith was battering him, rocked him, and then literally last minute or 30 seconds, Waxy then landed him with a
Once it comes back to that.
beautiful shot, rocked him. It was like that every round. It was wicked.
Mm.
It was, and the fact that was on at 5:30 in the afternoon and it was the first fight, you sat there going, this is what we've got for the whole night, yeah?
Yeah.
How does this get
I
better?
was like, this is life, man. This is great. I'm not moving from the sofa for another 5 hours.
Absolutely. So yeah, again, agreed. Like for me, that was my favorite fight of the night. It was like it was. I'm not gonna say anticlimactic because it was such a top fight. It was almost hard to keep up with because it was like the intensity of it. Like obviously, Bivol Beterbiev, that card probably from a skill level, you could see a bit more, but in terms of just the intensity and just like fighting will for will, like two people who really want it and having to sort of test like their grit, their resilience, their staying focused. It was for me. I felt that like how can I call it? It's like Cam Smith. It was more his timing. He kind of had better timing and footwork to land them slightly more hurtful, pristine punches. But at the same time, Joshua Bratty had like the will of like someone who would not be hurt. Like even when he was getting hurt, and you could see he was visibly hurt, and like the judges were, the commentators were like, "Oh, Bratty needs to hide him getting hurt from the body there." He didn't mind showing it because he was like, pain isn't going to stop me. Like, if you think it's just because I'm hurt that this fight or I'm going to hit you any less hard, you've got another thing coming. And yeah, I really enjoyed that fight, man. Amazing.
Even when he was hurt though, he didn't cover up. He was like on the cash and counter. He was like, I'm still gonna go. I'm still gonna go for it. I'm not gonna stop and just cover up on the ropes and try to bear some time and hold. He's like, no, I'm going for it, man. I'm still gonna try to
Mm,
take your head off and all.
I, I mean, there's an argument to say that both of them felt each other's hardest punches, so they knew what what they could take, I guess, and they could
mm.
kind of go back
Yeah.
at them, so so there is that. But I mean, Kieran, what about you? What would you say? Because you've not actually had an opportunity to voice your opinion.
Oh, well, of course, that was just me voicing it, but I like the sound of my own voice, so I'll run through it again. But yeah, definitely, I'd say that was my favorite fight. Um, I'd say just to add that extra bit, I'll probably say my funniest one because I'd say it was my favorite because of the intensity. It was almost like they're both very skillful, willful fighter, but I felt it was more like the skills and experience on Callum Smith's side versus just that hunger and grit from Boatsi. But it was like the skill slightly edged it. The judge who had it, I think was it. I personally did feel it was gonna go to Callum Smith because I felt that the close rounds he still did enough to say he won the rounds. But I think that one who gave it 10-2, that was obviously a bit extreme in terms
That's
of
ridiculous.
yeah, that was a
Yeah, but
cheap shot.
that's the same judge that gave Hamza Shiraz the win, though.
Okay, yeah.
I,
So
th-
in
I,
the
th-
So
pocket.
I think that was possibly one of the disappointments of the night as well. But
bad.
apparently, apparently he's injured his left hand.
I
So he
see
wasn't.
a picture of it. Don't be
He
wrong,
wa-
it did look like double the size of the other hand.
yeah, so he wasn't able to kind of throw his jab. That basically,
Yeah.
um, uh, well, I think he's knocked out people with that jab, hasn't he? Actually, so
Mm.
he wasn't able to throw that jab that basically keeps people at bay, but also lines up his big right hand as well. You know, so yeah, I mean, let's kind of give him benefit of the doubt and see how he comes back. I guess, in my opinion. But
Yeah, absolutely. And so like obviously Ruben, Sash told me that you've kind of got an itinerary for us. Tell us what we're talking about today.
Well, you got the last crescendo, whole
Yeah, yeah.
fight card to go through fight by fight.
Hmm.
And then there was an excellent press conference between Conor
excellent.
Benn and Eubank. Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah, Kieran's got it.
Yeah.
Got that whole press, well, both press conferences to go through. Some funny bits and that, some proper cheap shots like Conor Benn shitting up Ben Shalom.
Yeah.
I don't know if you see the video, the one that was mic'd up. He
Yeah.
literally made him shit himself, and then you got Eddie Hearn turning around, cracking up at him after. I thought Eddie Hearn was loving that.
Yeah. But to be fair, Eddie Hearn flinched as well. I know he tried to
Eddie
be.
Hearn flinched as
He
well,
did.
but Eddie Hearn admitted, because what cracked me up was Eddie Hearn admitted it, but there was an interview with IFL and Ben Schlum was going, "No, I was getting ready to like pull a counter and this and that."
Yeah,
They're sitting there going,
yeah.
"Bro, behave yourself. You're doing nothing."
Actually, I do think Ben Shalom showed a bit more character and personality recently, and
He's got
I
to
do
though, man.
I do genuinely believe he's trying to make a joke there. He's trying to be a little bit funny and show some personality, and I think
Mm.
that's where that's
Trying.
coming.
He needs to try. But yeah, it did make me laugh when he was like, I didn't flinch. Then he turned it into that. I was like, we've all just seen you absolutely shit yourself.
Yeah.
Even Eddie, yeah, that's what crap because even Eddie Hearn was like, no, even I shit myself.
That's
It's
it.
like, if it's coming for me, even I'm going to.
But so there's that.
But yeah,
What else do we have?
Javonta Davis with his gel in his hair.
Mm.
Yeah,
Was it a
Bad,
knee? I think yeah.
bad.
To be fair, I think that one is a quick summary. Like I think they're saying that it's not getting overturned. I don't know how they'll go into it because obviously I think that was just a. We all make mistakes. Obviously, it's a shame that some mistakes cost more than others. But in terms of like, obviously he's allowed to do that. I think that's more on the ref who made the mistake on that one.
hmm
Because essentially, if a fighter can't fight and it's taken in, like he did what he needed to kind of get out of the moment and reset, but he just didn't get penalized for it. And I think that's really on the. It's almost like let's say, so I say it's almost doing like 40 miles in a 30-mile-per-hour zone, and the camera didn't flash off. You're probably not gonna go back and be like, hey, by the way, I was speeding on this road, and like I don't think you gave me a ticket for it. It's like that's kind of how I look at that one. It's the ref just did a poor job now because it cost
Breath was shocking.
yeah
Mm.
Lamont Roach on that.
Right,
And then yeah, that's a good one. So we got Last Crescendo, we got the Eggtails. No, sorry, Conor Benn versus Eubank Junior card, and then the Lamont and
Roach
Javon Tank.
Tank fight.
Roach and Tank take card.
And then on a British level, the other day, Fisher versus Allen rematch got announced.
Yeah, and then the big boxing news, which again has been covering like all the main stations, Talksport, everybody is in what with Dana White and His Excellency Turkey connecting together, what that means for boxing, and are they going to be able to replicate that UFC model into the boxing world?
Mm.
And that,
I
that
think that
cheap
would,
shot by Canelo, obviously, that press conference, that could be
Correct,
one.
correct.
Because I think it happened, was it the day before? they announced it the day before the Canelo. The
Yeah, so the
Canelo
Canelo
press
thing was the
conference.
day after, I think.
Was it the day after? Yeah.
I think, or on the day. It was either the day after or on the day. So obviously
Yeah.
they've announced it. Said they're going to take over boxing. Canelo's trying to grab his WBC belt, and Turkey's like, no, no, no. Oh, Turkey's
That's
going,
it.
no, 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 you ain't doing that. We're
Yeah.
gonna have a. Also, the one thing I don't like, every fight they've got a new belt for now.
Mm.
Like even the Conor Benn Eubank fight. Did you see that belt they've got? And it was like the Fatal Fury title, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
that bit. I'm sitting there going, that's getting a bit WWE-ish. I don't like that.
A little bit gimmicky.
Yeah,
Yeah. To be fair,
like
I
the
think
whole
they are
point of
trying to
fighting
sell
for
a
the title
game.
was, yeah, they are. But even like the WBC, for instance, every fight they bring out a new belt now.
So are we getting into this part now and then gonna flip back to Last Crescendo, or should we?
Yeah, I'll
'Cause
probably say, should we start with that? Just because in terms of from a
we're talking about it.
boxing news, it's probably
Yeah,
the thing
it's
that's the hottest on the market right
yeah,
now.
So
yeah.
So
Let's go.
so for me, if you don't mind me gegging in first, my this is now going to make me backtrack on the things that the three of us have been saying. Like we're saying, the landscape of boxing has changed, and Turkey's gonna do wonderful things with boxing. And listen, I don't think necessarily that this is going to be a bad thing with boxing. We need to kind of wait and see how it pans out. My concern is how it basically it if you're going to be like there's prestige and kind of history and things like the WBC, WBO, WBA, and stuff like that. So to kind of be shunning belts and setting up this new thing with uh, Dana White, and again, it will be something great. It could be something great for upcoming fighters or like fighters that are on the fringe and stuff like that, maybe. Or,
mm,
or maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe it would be like the new World Championship of boxing or something like that. But I guess we have to wait till it plays out. The key is Turkey needs to kind of strike a fine balance, because there's still a lot to be said about promoting and promotion in boxing and stuff like that, and how that works with, say, Queensbury, with Matchroom, and so on and so forth. Yeah, he's kind of used them to get the contacts that he's got in terms of the fighters and things, because he's got the money, you know. He's not short of any money, and he's got deep pockets than any of those guys put together. But the fear is it could end up it could end up ruining it potentially, and that's my concern now with the involvement of Dana White and stuff. I mean, I know Dana White knows combat sports, and let's be honest, he knows probably more about boxing than I do, but I just don't think he knows it as well as the guys that are in the game already. You know, I feel like putting Dana White in there is more almost like a two fingers to Jake Paul kind of thing, because it felt a bit like Dana White and Jake Paul had been competing
Yeah.
on that stage as well. But yeah, that's me. That's my 2 cents on that.
mm.
Two things. Sorry, quickly. As we always go back to Jake Paul in these podcasts, did you see him come out the other day and admit that he fought Mike Tyson though when he had Parkinson's?
Oh, I haven't heard him. I heard the rumors that being true, but I didn't hear
He was
Jake
doing
confirming it.
a live stream, and he openly admitted, he went, yeah, because when I fought Mike, he had Parkinson's, and then went quiet,
Yeah,
and everyone was commenting, going, are you actually taking the piss? Like, you know him full well,
right.
fought him.
But
Like,
Mike Tyson and his team have kind of refuted that comment, so it's difficult to kind of gain fact around that. You know what I mean? I mean,
true.
what I would
Either way, even if
what
you
I
got
would
the
say,
hint of
if we're
going
going to talk
60
cheap
old geese on fighting, has got a Parkinson's, you're going to go, I'm not going to fight him. He's 60, let alone Parkinson's.
Yeah, people do wild things for a
I mean,
Yeah,
couple million. Do you know what I mean? Like, to
very
be
true.
fair, even Mike Tyson, in his own words, I'll fight a tiger if you give me enough money. So I
yeah,
think
but
I don't think Parkinson's will be enough to stop a man like him. We all knew he was hooked up to wires and almost died 6 months ago. So whether it was Parkinson's or not, he'd come off his deathbed to have this bout. So in my mind, it's like, cool. So now we got a name for what it was. But
yeah,
regardless, he almost died 6 months ago. So that
exactly.
that for me was it.
Yeah,
Like,
fair enough.
this is a man giving his last hurrah and saying, "Hey, I'm willing to lay it all on the line." Now, do you know what I mean? Whether it's Parkinson's, cancer, and God forbid he had any of them, but I knew he wasn't in good shape stepping into the ring. It just, yeah.
But yeah, I was going to say, talking of cheap shots in boxing as well, though. Don't know if you guys saw the meme as well, but there's a meme out there confirming that Jake Paul versus Gene Hackman bout is still on.
No, I saw the cheap shot that when Turkey and KSI they
That's
did that
mad.
collab with the Fatal Fury on the gaming. So like KSI's gonna play some games in like London, New York, people to play, and then he's like, oh, but we might also be able to get you a fight, but no one over 60. Do you know what I mean? He was kind of like, we want to get you an American fight. No one over 60, kind of like egging towards Jake, and then I think he responded and he's like, you see them always coming back to me and that. But they're not gonna get me. But who knows?
And going back to the TKO deal,
Yeah.
is it gonna be like, you know, the PGA golf?
Hmm.
You know, Live Golf come in and they literally just went separate ways. Some people went with that, some people went with that.
Mm.
Is it going to be like that? Like some people are going to go, well, no, I'm good with WBC, so I'm going to stick with these lot over here. And you got people going, well, no, there's more chance of TKO, I'm going to go with them lot. And then occasionally they're going to be differences that are going to be fighting each other. Or this is the one thing that we need to find out. Whether
Yeah.
Dana White's going to want to work with your WBCs and your Suleimans and them boys, or whether they're going to go, no, I'm not working with you. We're doing our own thing, and this is what we're doing. You either come here and we're done. That's
Mm.
what's going to be interesting. Because if they work together, well, the best thing they could do is just buy out everything, buy a WBC, buy everything, and then you just got one belt per division. Go old school. I get that. But if you're going to have 6 belts over there, you're going to have 1 belt over there, and you're
Yeah.
going to end up with a mega fight of the undisputed heavyweight champion versus a TKO heavyweight champion.
Hmm.
Then it's a bit of, is it going to be a bit more of a gimmick? Is it just going to, I don't know.
Yeah. Because I look at it and say, because they're saying exactly the same model as what they did in UFC. They want to bring over to like the TKO into the boxing space.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the only thing is with the UFC though, there wasn't anything but really before. It was UFC and
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say there. So with it, I kind of see it as, and now like they did do the like purchase of like Pride and Strike Force and these other
Yeah, yeah, of course.
organizations so that would be almost a similar. I don't think that they'd want to necessarily.
They merged it into one though.
Yeah. So, but I think with the merger, as a promotions company, they're more likely to do a merger for Queensbury, Golden Boy, like the belts
The
themselves
promotions rather than the belts.
because the promotions are the ones who are contracted to the fighters, not
Mm.
the belts. The belts you need to pay consistently your fees, so to speak. But now Turkey owns one of the oldest belts in the Ring magazine, so it's now more about re-establishing the Ring magazine as the main belt,
Yeah,
along with his undisputed title, and that these WBCs and other belts that not saying they don't have as much significance, but then I see them coming more in terms of like the one championship and the
I got you.
like
Yeah,
they'll
Bellator,
be like, what's it called? One championship's a big one. Obviously now they've bought out Bellator as well, but Bellator was
EFL.
another big solid
Yeah,
one. Um, I think there's one or two others that are missing, but the way I look at it now, it's kind of like, oh yeah, that's the one, PFL, which are kind of like
EFL.
a new
I mean,
starter.
Ngannou. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's like now I kind of MMA is like obviously UFC's got the prime premium position, but then you've also got one championship, which you've got some. It's broader in terms of more than just MMA, but they're like very well respected. And then you've also got PFL. So those are like the 3 leagues. I think that he's more likely to do that, swallow up a few of the promotion companies, work, and then essentially get the fighters to fight less for the WBCs and the other belts, but not necessarily completely banning them. Similar to I see it how they did with the vehicles. Like first they throw a ULEZ on, oh yeah, you can drive in a certain zone. And then actually no, we're gonna expand that zone so they make it harder and harder for you to drive your ULEZ non-ULEZ compliant car. So you're like, you know, I'm gonna scrap that because it's costing me too much to keep running this. So if you wanna fight for a WBC and the ring belt, then you can, but there might be an extra sanctioning fee. And you're like, why am I paying this extra fee when what does this actually mean? Let me just stick to the new ULEZ compliant style. So that's one way I think now. I think that's the way they're more likely to do it. But what I'd like to see and what I feel would be the ultimate manner is because as much as MMA is being a great growing sport, the most established sport globally is football. So I feel that
Yeah,
that's a better representation. If we want to get the eyes on the sport, like MMA is a growing sport, but it doesn't have the capacity that football does in terms of viewership and advertising and like stardom. But that's where I feel that boxing can come towards. So I'd prefer to see more of a like creating the leagues. So like TKO welcome the investment, have their league, swallow up a few other companies, but then now quote unquote WBC have to almost build. They're almost forced to build their own promotion or die. So essentially,
yeah.
work more in support with the fighters, and then there's a tournament where everybody comes together, i.e., like similar to like our Champions League. So we know who's the best in Britain, we know who's the best in all these different countries, and we kind of accept that. Like, let's say if you're playing in the top flight in Premier League, La Liga, what was it, Series A, and probably Bundesliga, and I'm missing the Spanish one. Did I say La
Liga.
Liga? Basically,
French
Italy.
league, Liga,
Yeah,
yeah. Italy,
Yeah,
France, Germany, Spain, England. Yeah,
but
they're kind of if
but
you're
isn't
playing in
unification?
one of those, and Germany as well, I throw in there. But
But is
even
it?
Germany are kind of dipping slowly. They're probably more of a national team, but I'll throw them into the mix. Like you kind of, if you're in the top of those countries, you can still say we're one of the best teams, but it's only the Champions League where you kind of say, okay, this is the official best of the best. And then you've got now the World Cup, which comes even further along, where so it's like each place you've got a space to show your dominance and clarity, but it's very much okay, this is the best in Britain, this is the best in Europe, this is the best on the world, and they kind of break it up into systems and cycles. I think that would be the ultimate because I think that is quote unquote the best. And not to say football doesn't have corruption or have its issues, but in terms of viewership, commercial viability, and the best playing the best, football is still leagues above MMA, in my humble opinion.
So Kieran, what you're saying is, it would work if they had representatives from each country, uh, globally, or because the only way otherwise, currently now, unification fights represents things like the equivalent of Champions League and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
The reason why I say it does is more because Champions League, you don't get to. It doesn't. It can. One could see it as that, but the reason why I don't see it as being there because you don't get to pick and choose. In your as the current setup as a boxer, you are very much your own business, whereby you operate and choose which contracts you decide to take on. And that's why they say sign the contract, big boy, or this, that, the other, because it's like let's get this deal done. Versus Champions League, it's more to say before you even started the season, you signed up to say, if I finish in the top four in my country, in my space, I put myself forward to put in the hat in this mix, and anyone can get this smoke if they want it. That is very different to saying, I'm now champion. I see this champion. I think I've got what this champion can take. Versus if you sign and say, whoever's champion on the 31st of this month, they're going to have enter into a tournament and they're going to fight these fights on these dates. And if you're injured, you lose your title. That's just how the game goes.
Mhm.
That is more what I'm going towards.
one thing I've just thought of. See, the other month it come out reported that they're doing the WBC Amateur World Cup,
Mm.
the maximum 10 fights, whatever it was. That was done by Riyadh season, was it not?
Yeah, WBC partnership. Yeah, WBC.
So then, if you could actually look into it, just thinking about it, he probably might not be just getting rid of WBC and going with one. If he's putting effort into making something like that,
Yeah, I see it
then
as
you could
look.
look into that and say actually he's going to work together rather than just
Mm. I think he just wants to work with everyone, but then gradually take over everyone. That's
yeah,
ultimate.
good point.
Yeah,
Or he could be
like
using it to find the best up and comers, get that, sign them, and then go, yeah, come to TKO.
yeah, and to be fair, I think it's one, let's say, entities. So what I mean is there's levels. So for instance, because the Premier League or the difference is UFC, and the reason why I'm trying to compare it more to football than to the MMA. MMA is the best example because it's combat sports and they've essentially got the best fighting the best. But on the downside, they don't have the commercial side to pay their fighters, quote unquote, to this standard that the boxing world would accept or the fighters would accept. like what the UFC does. Obviously, Turkey's shown that, but you can't go from paying fighters 10, 25, 30 million, half a million on like the low end to then be like, "Do you know what, we're going to pay you 2 million on the top end now to top a bill," because the maths just isn't maths in there. But what he's done is he's saying, look, we want TKO to be the Premier League, to be the Champions League of this, and it's going to take a while to get to that stage. But I also own um, the Ring magazine. I also have got the Riyadh season going. I'm heavily invested in WBC. I've got all these games out. So essentially, it's more, I am the godfather of boxing. So in 2050 or 2070, everybody's seeing it as he's like almost like I'm saying not the healthier version of Don King, because Don King used to like dominate the boxing world, quote unquote. People might have said he's shady, but he was the man. And I think that now it's now the man with a bit more quote unquote ethics and a lot deeper pockets. And he's essentially saying, yeah, TKO will be the top. But boxing's too like not everyone can play in the Premier League. So we need ways to build and to create systems to filter into our top league. And yeah, Matchroom, sorry guys, you're now going to be considered championship, but I paid you handsomely to do it. So it's like let's not have too much of a rumble because I've got you richer dropping into the championship. And if you want to get involved over here, we've got a good partnership and relationship.
But but this is it. I think this is Turkey's way of kind of having a bit more control over the fighters rather than the promoters and management having control over the fighters. Because I don't know if you saw recently, he's had a little bit of a falling out with Bivol because Bivol hasn't signed to fight Benavidez yet. And
Mm.
respectfully, I know why Bivol hasn't signed to fight Benavidez yet, because he's just been through two wars with Beterbiev, and he probably just wants to rest for a little bit before going again. I don't think he's afraid of Benavidez. I think he beats Benavidez as well, if I'm honest, and comfortably. But yeah, Bivol and Turkey have. Well, Turkey's publicly fallen out with Bivol, saying he's not going to wait for anyone, and he's going to make sure that Benavidez is fighting for whichever belt it was.
Mm.
Does Turkey not want the trilogy though?
I
Do you
don't
not
think
think?
so. And I think
No.
he wants the Benavidez fight first.
Yeah, okay, because like to be fair, it was secondary sources because I didn't hear it firsthand. But somebody said that Turkey didn't want that fight to happen. Bivol versus, I thought that was
No,
mandated by one of the belts. So the belts
no.
have
He's quoted it.
requested that.
He's quoted saying Benavidez is ready, but Bivol, we're not going to wait. I've sorted you out in the past, but we're not going to wait for you.
But
But
because there's a
Benavidez is
post on the Boxing News 24, Turkey says he's lost interest in making a bid to stage a fight between undisputed heavyweight champion Dimitri Bivol and Benavidez,
I,
WBC mandatory. So
I,
that's Boxing News 3 days ago. He doesn't say why he's lost the interest between the Bivol Benavidez, but essentially Turkey saying you can have the fight, just not on my checkbook.
maybe. Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll find the article where it's quoted Turkey saying that he's not going to wait for Bivol and come back to you, because normally I blow up both your phones with posts and memes that I see anyway.
Yeah,
So it's funny. It's funny that I didn't actually send that to you already. So
yeah. Because I think with this one it was more of him. I definitely did hear him basically G checking Bivol to be like, yo, step in line, because otherwise you know what side your bread's buttered. But I think it was more for him to sign for whatever he wants him to do next, not necessarily for that fight, but essentially he's trying to tell him, yo, remember, you remember where the gravy train is. So sign for what I want you to do next, not just what you think is the next right move. Like, remember, I'm Uncle Turkey now, and I know your best next steps. Like saying that actually, not this isn't quite quite a cheap shot, but more of an interesting question. And because I'm a massive fan of both, I do you see parallels and similarities between Chris Eubank Senior and Turkey, His Excellency Turkey. And, and what I mean by that is the reason why I say that is in terms of like not from a fighter, but they're both showmen in terms of what they do, but in terms of like with Eubank Senior in terms of now obviously taking Harley under his wing. He always had Chris Eubank Jr. under his wing, and like the way he speaks it, he always makes it that these fighters are more powerful by my side. And truth be told, he's right. Like he is a Hall of Fame boxer, world champion, been there, done that, British legend for a reason. So he's essentially saying, as much as it might annoy you to be around me, son, you're best under my wing. And now when you move away from me, you can do that, but it's going to be at your own cost. I still love you from afar, but this isn't the right move for you. And I feel that now Turkey's almost coming with that same. He's brought them up. He's given them that opportunities, those situations, and now he's letting them know, like, bro, obviously you can do what you want to do, but remember who I am,
Correct.
and let's not take away what my power is and what I can do for you. But it's up to you.
But basically, what you're saying is you could do what you got to do. You'll probably do it well, but together we'll do it better.
And I think that's kind of the similarities I see between Eubank Senior and Turkey in terms of when under their tutelage or guidance. So when you become quote unquote in the inner circle, he doesn't want you to. He makes it clear that he's the visionary, and let's run with my path and plan because it will be the best for you.
I need those two to have an interview together before this kind of Ben Eubank fight. I need Eubank Senior to be sat in a room with Turkey and then have an interview. Because that'd be the funniest.
Oh, that would be it. Maybe we should call for that. See if we can make it happen. 'Cause that's how it happens. The fans start to request it. Turkey would be like, "Oh, that'd be interesting." I could then see Chris sipping a cup of tea, thinking about it, being like, "Yeah, let me give him my 2 cents about what I think about this fight."
Well, it'd be interesting to see if he actually does. He's got to turn up before the fight, surely. I can't see him not going to that fight at all.
He might
Senior, I'm
not.
talking about.
He might not.
Yeah, why not? From what I
I don't
saw
know.
from Harlem's, because Harlem
Even
fought this weekend. So to interrupt
he
there,
won.
Ruben. But yeah, Harlem fought this weekend. I think he got a stoppage win.
Yeah,
But like from a post interview, Harlem kind of was like, if he shows, he shows it, but it will surprise me. So again, if that's what's coming from the family, like that's I'm just gonna like I know I've got it from an outside view. It's family dynamics can be interesting and like especially like we can be quite headstrong as
yeah.
individuals. And it's nice when families get along. Obviously, nothing close when you're always going to have love for family, but some family you have to love from afar based on what the circumstances are. And just like if we've got unresolved issues, and essentially the whole point of falling out is because I'm trying to tell you what you should be doing and you disagree with what I'm telling you to do. I may not show up to support you in doing exactly what I told you that I don't want you to do. It's like, Jimmy, how
Mhm.
many parents, if you were to tell them what nonsense you're up to, and then like things that your parents disapprove of, it's just the difference is they're in the public feed. But would you say there are things that maybe your parent will happily support you with from afar? Or when I say support you, as in you're gonna do it, you're a man, you can do what you're gonna do, but they're not gonna condone it and they're not gonna show up because hey, they just disagree with the decision you're making there.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Or
I
would you
feel like
say
it's
that
different. Like, when you're having your biggest fight of your career, obviously, like you said, he still loves him from afar. Yeah,
mm,
got to show up for that. Surely, that is the biggest fight of your son's. Could be his last fight. It might be the last time you ever see your son fight. Biggest fight of his life. You got to turn up for that, man. Regardless whether you agree with it or not, I think you've got to. But
Mhm.
then is he not turning up for the fact of going doesn't want to make it about him and Nigel? But then I feel
no,
like Eubank Senior loves the limelight, so
yeah.
and the fight's about him anyway. That's the only reason the fight's this big in the first place. So I feel like a fight that big, you've got to turn up to it, man, for your son.
The, the way I look at it is I get where you're coming from, and I'd like to say that is the case, just based on the fact of just understanding humankind. Human dynamics aren't
But
always as simple
Eubank's,
as
yeah,
not even just Eubanks. I'm just saying people, family.
for
Like
people in
I,
general, 100%, but
I've got
especially
family who don't speak to each other. Like we can now go and talk about why that's not right and say, but you've got like family's family, and to my extent, yeah, that's true. Family's family, but and some things you look back and say, oh, why didn't I this, that, the other? but we don't always make the best decisions. We don't always make heart and head are in two different places. So, and sometimes your head is stronger than your heart, i.e., your heart's with them, but your head's saying, "Do you know what? My pride won't allow me to do." And we can say, "Oh yeah, that's we should give in and be humble," and yeah, we can all say those. But I know that chances are you don't become the world's super middleweight champion and develop and overcome what he's come without having very tough grit and standing by your words even when it hurts you. So I get
True.
what you're saying from an emotional perspective. It'd be nice to be by there, by your son, to take in the moment. And I hope and want to see that, and it would be a lovely moment. But I don't hold my head on what ifs and potential. I kind of look at more of if you're in a place whereby you feel that this person did me wrong. And I'm also saying this because I'm Jamaican too, is like from a cultural perspective and also and British, we can be tough, strong-headed people on the best of times. So yeah, we should have I don't. Some things are just outside of our remit to really be able to comment on fully. Or let me say, if I was in your shoes, I'd probably do the same, and that's how I look at it. And I'd like to see them be there. But if he doesn't, it wouldn't surprise me because if the son's saying I'm not sure if my dad's going to be there, if the cousins are saying I'm not sure he's going to be there, then who am I as someone who's not in their circle, not been privy to their conversations, don't actually know the deep down of what's been said between the two of them? Because Chris Eubank
True.
Senior did say my son wrote me a letter, and in that letter he said certain things, and I need him to apologize for those things. If you've now done those things and you're not going to apologize, then it is what it
Yeah,
is.
fair enough.
Do you
Yeah,
get what I
fair
mean?
enough.
So that's kind of my take on it. Is in like, if you now go back on that, chances are that's not how you raised your son to go back on what you said. Like, yeah, but that's just my 2 cents. It doesn't make it right. But just kind of looking at it from a less from an emotional perspective. But if I was just to kind of chess piece it, I'm thinking, nah, I think it's more the balls in Junior's court to say sorry to whatever else, this, that, the other, for whatever has been said. And will that happen before that fight? That's another question you could. Do you think that would happen before that fight?
What, for Junior to say sorry to his old man?
Yeah.
Never in a million years.
What do you get what I'm saying? So if you feel that strongly that he's not going to say
If
sorry,
that's the case, then he's never turning up to anything.
do you get what I mean? And that's I think that's the catch 22 we're in. Really. In from watching it afar and watching the interviews of both parties, that's essentially kind of where I feel things are. Junior feels justified for saying what he said, and Senior feels hurt for being told what he's heard. And now Junior feels, well, it was warranted, so I'm not going to apologize for it. And Senior's saying, well, you said what you said, so I need to distance myself from what you're doing. And that's kind of where we're at now.
And then going on to the actual fight itself, the press conference.
Oh, oh.
That's a
I'll let
cheap
you
shot of
two
all cheap
start with that
shots.
one because obviously I've got an event with Nigel coming up next month, so I might I might be stepping on eggshells around this one. No, I'm joking.
Pardon the pun.
No, no.
Listen,
Like,
listen.
the anger going through your body, right? If you're Conor Benn, would be a rage that you've never felt before in your entire life. You can go into a ring angry, hating someone you might have hated Eubank before, but after getting slapped round the face with an egg at a press conference in front of the world,
Hmm.
spilling over your nice new Dolce and Gabbana pajamas you're wearing,
It, it had to
fuming.
be an egg. It had to be an egg, didn't it?
Hmm. Did you hear?
but
Apparently
but
he had
but
like
but
He had
10 or
like
also
16
six.
eggs on
He
him.
had like six. He put a picture up of his Louis Vuitton jacket. He held the
Yeah.
pocket open. There was like 6 eggs in there.
Yeah, that's it. And you see him when he's walking out, just throwing that egg up in the air like it's a weapon. Just like he's like juggling an egg as he's walking out the press conference. Just like
it's,
throwing it.
it's like
Did you see how? Did you see
it's
how
like
cool, calm, and collected Nigel was though?
Oh, walks around. He's like, what?
I love Nigel. He literally looked round as if to go, "Has anyone hold me back?" No. All right, cool. I'm going round to him.
Yeah,
So, I was
throw it
gonna
on
say,
the
yeah,
neck.
Chris Eubank Jr. with the eggs was like a I don't know, a person with a handgun after they've shot a target, like when you spin it in your hand, kind of thing out of
Mm.
the air with a little bit.
And
But
literally, he did it like a quick draw as well. Like back in the Western days, where it's like they're in front, strike, and just pull it out. But again, with that, I would say it was beautifully executed in terms of the setup. And
I
again,
mean,
similar to boxing, if we're to use a play-by-play, is in like what he did is he disalarmed him with the slip on either side. What'd you say? What you say it? So he got him used to
Yeah.
that movement, that
mm,
movement, that
but,
movement. Set him up with a pocket. Bam! Overhand left hook. And he was
but,
out. Oh,
but,
it
but
was
the,
clinical.
I was gonna say
Clinical.
the content from that alone, they don't have to do any more promo. They've sold the fight.
No, just that done.
The stadium
Mm,
sold. Player VT of that in the lead up for PPV and there's going to be million plus PPV sales as well. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be
mm.
easy sell.
But what do you
Talk
think
about
about that?
pay-per-view sales. Sorry, can quickly. It's about pay-per-view sales. Did you
Mm.
see how bad the last Crescendo done in America though?
No, go on.
1.1 million pay-per-view sales.
To be
Right.
fair,
But
like,
who was on there
yeah.
That's the
that
biggest
is
fight
excited from
card
the US? Yeah, but
ever.
who's on there from the US?
Yeah,
The biggest fight card ever, and no one from the US represented.
that's
But the
cool.
thing is, with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
biggest,
yeah.
I
But
would
who's
say
but
with the
He's
who's
whole,
not.
behind Josh
I know
Cooley?
what you're saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I would say probably it was one of the most talented fight cards ever. But in terms of biggest, in my mind, I'm like, hmm. And maybe that's a cheap shot coming from me because again, I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. But
So
when we're
so
talking biggest, I'm looking at from like boxing is a business at the end of the day, and I'm looking at it from the commercial viability from top to bottom of the card. Like I don't see how it was the biggest in my.
that
Do you know what I mean? In terms of, I'm not talking qualities. I would say it's probably one of the most talented cards of all
Most
time.
entertaining.
so this is the thing. Yeah, exactly. Most entertaining, really talented
Mm,
card. Um, the key issue with that card for me it is that there there were no up and coming fighters televised. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
It was all big fight, big fight, big fight. So my point there is it basically took money away from kind of like for a better way of putting it, grassroots boxing and stuff like that. It didn't give people a chance to get on the main stage because remember, um, I think this is correct when I say this, but when George Groves knocked out, got knocked out by Carl Froch in front of 80,000 people at Wembley.
Rose retired Carl Froch.
Yeah, that's it. But when that at that same stadium, AJ fought on the undercard in a very empty
Empty at
stadium.
Wembley Arena.
mm.
So my point there is, but AJ was able to do that, able to get televised, able to kind of, I mean, maybe his path was already written, kind of thing. You know what I mean? But my point there is there are fighters that missed out on that, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that was its main flaw from my point of view. You know what I mean? I think a card like that should exist maybe once a year, once every 2 years, but I think it can't be the norm. And I'm not complaining about it. I just want there to be a future in boxing rather than people getting old tired boxers that are famous that used to be great boxing on that platform as opposed and younger boxers that are really talented not coming through because there's no money in it for them to be putting their lives at risk in the way that they are. Just my opinion.
mm, yeah. No, I see it. I think with this card, it was a good show. Like it was entertainment wise. Do you know what I mean? So many like Paddy. That was it not? Was it Paddy? No, I'm thinking Paddy Donovan from this. But no, that was
Josh
oh.
Josh Josh Purley.
Speaking of cheap shots, that was a bit of a
Padley,
shame.
Josh Padley.
No, that's yeah. Padley is the one I
Oh, Padley. It is
was,
Padley.
but then it was yeah, Josh Padley. But then when I said the Paddy, is it O'Donovan? Or was it Sully or something? O'Donovan, the one who landed that shot after like was winning the fight? It's like, bro, I'm not waiting for this next round. Bam, take this, let me finish it, and it ended up backfiring on him. Like That was a bit, but again, that's the word for another day. But yeah, Josh Bradley, like for instance, I'd say he was probably one of my most enjoyable fights or gallant efforts, but because of the story that was built around it, i.e., 4 days notice, just coming off the electrician on a Tuesday, flying in and giving a decent
Yeah.
account of yourself, like
Yeah.
as in like, do you know what I mean, going out on your shield, the not even getting stopped, but just the judges, your corner stopping it because essentially you've made your money, you gave a good show, and it's 4 days. Like that was almost quote unquote what just kind of add on what you said there, Saj, is about talking about the upcoming talent. I felt that was almost an opportunity for an up and comer too. And now, if you see what that's done to his career, so it's kind of like to echo, completely agree. What that's now done to his career is his needle's been moved the most from the start of the show to where it is
Yeah,
now post show.
And
And it would be nice to have a few more of those names who could have had that opportunity, type of thing.
correct. I mean, so as far as that's concerned as well, I would love for him to get another go at Shakur, but uh, after a full training camp, because you've got to bear in mind he wasn't at weight when he got the call up on Tuesday, so he drained weight as well to apparently safely, but he drained weight to make weight for that fight.
Mm.
So I would be very interested to see how he handles himself after a bit more yeah
Mm.
of a chance to kind of get in shape in camp, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't think that did any kind of injustice to him in terms of his boxing talent or anything like that. I think
Mm.
he was probably just completely drained from having to go from Tuesday to Saturday, make weight on Friday, and yeah. So I think that had a big impact. I don't think he lacks talent. I think he could be a good fighter, but let's see.
Yeah. I think the jet lag probably, if anything, as well. That's gonna impact
I
you
mean,
from
that impacted Bacoli for sure.
yeah. You know what I mean?
do you know what though? The Padley, I think it'd be about 4 hours. So it's not 3 4 hours. It's not massive. It's enough, but it's not massive. Yeah. The difference with Bacoli, my man had, I think it was like a 12-hour flight to somewhere else, then a stopover in Dubai, then Dubai to Saudi. He's on a plane for like 23 hours all in all, from like Congo to Saudi Arabia. Uh, he landed 2 o'clock that morning, weighed in at 3, done his interviews at 4 a.m., got some sleep, woke up. I didn't even notice. Did you know he was wearing Daniel Dubois' gloves? Didn't even know he was wearing
Yeah,
gloves on
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
I mean that's on Shalom though, right? How's his promoter not even got
You,
uh
you should have a backup. You
if
should always have someone.
he's gone to all that effort,
Yeah,
get the man some gloves. I mean, I appreciate he was boxing in his weekend shorts, uh but come on, get the
But they
gloves.
didn't have him. But I think it shows how
it was
last
too late. It
minute.
was too late to get sanctioned.
Yeah.
It's got to be the day before the fight. You get your A, B, and C gloves, don't you? And you got to pick
Mm.
your gloves getting signed off by the other team. It was too late. They
Mm.
couldn't get gloves sent out at the time, and obviously they couldn't get him sanctioned and signed off. So he's had to wear the
Mm.
ones that were done by
But I mean,
Dubois.
if in an industry where fights get called off because of
He
injuries
should
and
have
all
had a
this and so
backup.
on, there should always be
There's always
potential
got to be someone that's half trained in behind the scenes to stay ready,
especially
not
with- especially
shipping
with a fight
coconuts
card,
in Congo.
especially with a
But
fight
Chilling.
card that big.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
potentially they probably did. There was a bag of heavyweights, but I think it was the time of how close it was and how high up the card it
yeah.
was. So because
They
of
might
that,
have, they might have had 3 or 4, and they've all just said no. It's 12 hours before or 24 hours before the fight.
do you know what I mean?
By the way,
Because
I've watched that knockout over and over again from different angles and things like that. I don't know how that was the thing that stunned him. Do you know what I
oh,
mean?
I could see that. It's like top of the head. That's near the temple enough. When your
Oh, okay.
equilibrium's knocked off of bounce. Like to be fair, a draw punch will probably maybe shake your brain more, but a
Mm.
temple or top of head shot is more like to shake your legs more in terms of your balance. Like the one in the
Okay.
chin's like your knees
But
might go, but
it
you're
looks
like the one in the temple. You're like, wait a second, like what legs are these? Like they
it
You're
kind of
looks
there,
all
but your legs
glancing,
aren't there. You're
but it
going, why can't I not stand up? What's going on?
mm,
Whereas the other
but
one's like, shit, that hurt.
yeah. You're like, mate, what's happened?
the one where he shook his head. I think maybe it was a case of that was still impacting him when he took the shot to the top of the head as well. Because you remember he took a heavy shot from
He
Parker.
took a heavy shot and went,
shook
"Nah,
off
I'm right," and walked off.
Yeah.
I thought, "Oh, this
but
is going to be a long night for Parker, bro."
but clearly
Yeah.
it wasn't. Clearly it wasn't all right. You know what I mean?
But I think that's it because they said he hadn't sparred since the Jared Anderson fight. So essentially that was partly of my probably like as you do in the gym. Like we actually
That
just
was a
saw
long time ago now, though.
exactly. That's
A
so
long time ago, bro.
there we go. So he was just shaking it off because I watched a couple interviews of him posting. He was like, "You haven't seen me sparring," and the lead up to it, I was over building up I was trying to build a mole in Congo, and I get the call from Turkey. I'm like, I need money. You show me how much money.
The
I'm
one that
like,
cracked me up was
okay,
afterwards. He got $500,000 and they went, "What's the first thing you're doing?" He went, "I'll get home, back to Congo. I'm going to the shopping mall."
yeah,
I was
literally.
like, "Fair play. Go enjoy yourself."
But
And
yeah,
he's
so
fighting again. He's fighting again in May, isn't he? For the IBF eliminator.
mm, and then I think one more at the end of the year. So for him, he was looking at I get an extra. It's like and I think that's also comes to the power of Turkey again. Is in it's more of a place that because he's almost bankrolling the boxing elite now, or those who want to break into the elite space. Like those who quote unquote haven't had the opportunity just yet are more likely to throw themselves like at a disadvantaged position to keep him happy because essentially they know that well okay the other option is to say no to him now but now I'm going to probably be the B fighter on the rest of his shows.
Also, if he's very much, from what I've heard, he's very much. If you say no, it's like, all right, well, I'm not going to offer you this chance again.
Mm.
Whereas if you say yes, like Padley got, he apparently got Padley like 600 grand, bought him an house. He's got
The house bit
he's
was
now got he's now got to deal with Matchroom, or he's got 700 grand, which is enough to buy himself a new house.
yeah
Right?
that's where the because
He's
he's
got to
still
deal with
waiting around
Matchroom.
like where's my house.
He's got to deal with Matchroom,
Mm.
and then he's also said to Padley, "My next card, you'll be on that as well, so you'll get a nice payday for that, and then you're in my good books now."
Mm.
So it's like if you
So
say yes to Turkey, you're in, you're set.
that's it.
Like, imagine if you was a journeyman nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
You know the journeymans that go like your corner and get sparked out for about 400 500 quid or a grand back in the day. They do that
Yeah.
like 20 times a year.
Mm.
If you was a journeyman now, you'd be going out there getting Saudi, getting 100 grand every time, doing that like 6 times a year.
Only thing is Saudi's journeyman you gotta be fringe world level at least now to be fair. It's like
What, to be a journeyman under Turkey?
or you gotta be from that part of the world.
Do you reckon?
Like in terms of like, yeah, I'm trying to think like because he's in terms of the Riyadh season, like the I'd say the least, not least talented, but in terms of like skill level, it was probably what's his name, Ngannou from a boxing perspective.
Yeah, but that was a big name. He's had some smaller fights, like he's had Prince Nassim's son fight like some random geezer before out there.
Oh, okay, and that comes back to more community and the culture side of things.
Yeah,
I'm referring
yeah.
to. So is
But
in like
again, he's gonna get someone to just stand there and get done by Prince
I feel
Nassim's
you
son. 'Cause he
mean. I
wants
get
him.
what you're,
Yeah.
but yeah. But them journeymen ain't making 300, 400 grand on those ones.
No, they're not
Like,
making that, but they're making a lot more than what they would have done back in your
oh,
court.
yeah, come on, yeah, definitely. Yeah, to be fair. And I like even the build up, like, when they got like, I think, I seen Chris Congo on it when they do the fights before the fight, like rather than having just like the weigh-in, or the, public workout, they got like public fights first.
Did they have fights on after or
Yeah,
before? It
before,
makes it
yeah,
more of a yeah.
show that
That's
day.
good.
So that's a good one. So no, so that's good. So anything else on the crescendo card that we want to speak about before getting, because
No,
we
no,
touched on the egg tail, no,
I
on the
think, I
Ben
think,
Eubank Jr.
I
That's
think we need
something.
to.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I think we need to get together and watch our prediction episode and see how right and wrong we were. But other than that,
Yeah.
nothing more to add because we can't be accurate through guesswork. Do you know what I mean? Because I can't
yeah,
remember exactly who I selected.
100%. That's
One
something.
thing, quick cheap shot.
Mhm.
Was it Ollie Aladipo that was doing the press conference for the Eubank Ben fight?
Yeah.
And Eubank's trainer, he called him
Oh,
what's it? They called him Thingy Shields.
yeah, Ronnie Fields.
Ronnie Shields. Ronnie Shields, he's like, bruv, he's like, get his name right. He's done too much for boxing for you to get his name wrong. And it even says his name, Ronnie Davis, across the thing. I thought, bruv, how have you got Shields? Like, where has that come from?
Oh, do you know what? I thought, well, because the thing is, as soon as you said it, I'm like, it sounds off. I'm thinking like, man,
Is
because
it
when I'm
right?
thinking Ronnie Shields, in my mind, I'm thinking either some big black
So
guy. I think he's some. No. It's in like I don't know why, but in my head, I'm thinking some either big black guy, or I'm thinking, is this like Clarissa Shields' dad or something like? As in, but
so,
then when
so I
they were
wondered
like,
if it was like a nickname or something. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, Ronnie Shields, he is a fighter. He's a former professional. Well, he's not a big black guy, but he's small black guy. He's now a trainer. Um, but he used to box out of Texas. He's trained Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Pernell Whitaker, Arturo Gat. That's what I mean by big black. Is in the name is a big name in the training space, and he's trained some heavyweights. David Tua, Pernell Whitaker, Mike
No,
Tyson.
he's trained some big people.
That's what. So the name itself, it rang a bell. But I'm like, I don't think of that when I see Ronnie Davis. You know what I mean? So I'm glad it was. But I was like, hey, maybe I made it wrong. Like he's the one up there calling it out. So that was funny, and that's what I love
No,
about
because
Eubank. Yeah.
did you see Eddie Hearn after? You know when they go up to the three pundits, it was like Bellew, and whoever else it was doing like the punditry work on Matchroom or Sky, whoever
Mm,
was doing the press
mm.
conference. They was
mm.
interviewing Eddie Hearn. Then Ollie Adedipa walked in after, and Eddie Hearn's looked at him and gone, "Oh, you got told, you got in trouble there, didn't you?" And then started laughing and walked off.
But yeah, would you say from that, if we were to go back to that those press conferences, because again, I watched both of them. They were both entertaining. Like, do you feel that this has given um Eubank Jr. the edge over the team, or would you say that into obviously it's definitely helped
You
sell the
know what?
fight, but it's in
Someone asked me this the other day, and they went, "Do you reckon, obviously, how angry Conor Benn is, it's going to make him? You know, obviously, they say fight with anger doesn't always work. You end up losing quite a lot, yeah.
mm,
Because you don't go with your head. You just go in all guns blazing. It doesn't work for you. But the difference
mm,
is when Conor Benn fights, he goes in all guns blazing anyway.
mm,
He's very rarely a jabber move, and he can be slick, but he is
mm,
99% of the time overhands and goes in. So in terms of
mm,
that, I don't think that makes too much of a difference with his fighting style because I think he's always going to go for it anyway.
mm.
But
Got you.
in terms of the edge, I don't know because then I half look at it and I just think, is it Eubank trying to get in his head because Eubank knows that he's past his peak?
Mm.
Like, is he trying to do anything to get an advantage because he knows he could get done, he's past it?
I think it's his style. Like, because since he's kind of gone on his own, I'm looking at it back from I'm just a I'm just a man in a KFC jacket trying to make a buck to 60%. All I need 60%. Him? Now all I need is 50% for that one. So it's in like it's like him getting under people's skin is part of his like
Him
almost
against
part of
Eddie
his
Hearn has been superb though.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because Eddie's not used to getting told like
No,
that.
Eddie's not used to having the back and forth with someone. Now you can see he's actually getting under his skin. He's like, I hate him. Like, actually,
Mm,
he's starting to piss me off.
yeah. Especially the bit that got me when it's like, oh, who show do you think it is? Like, do you think it's you? Like, do you think? And
And
it's
he was
like,
like, "Do you know, what did he say?" He goes, "Do you honestly think I'm going to sit here and just have like listen to you talk, like waffle on, like to
mm.
what you got to say? Do you honestly think I'm going to sit here and listen to you?" And he's like,
But then the
"You
thing
kind of
is, I
got
don't
it,
know.
mate."
But Eddie Hearn was like, oh, what? Who do you think show it is? Like, he's like, what? Because he's like, do you think it's the Eddie Hearn show? He's like, what? Do you think it's the Eubank show? And it's like, well,
It is you
yeah,
back then.
it is the Eubank show. Like, it's the
It
Eubank
literally
show.
is.
It's the Ben show. Like, that's what it said in the fight. But yeah, it was good to see. I wouldn't say he was rattled, but as in his wits were tested. You know,
Yeah,
Eddie's normally been able to just kind of roll through, like, do you know what I mean, strong arm them, but as in here, he was challenged in a way which made it almost cringy, like, as in, like, parts of it was like, like, you know, when it's like someone's putting it on him, it's like, bro, how are you going to respond to this? Like, as in, because you can't just go quiet and be like, okay, but you can't say too much because it's like, well, it is his card at the end of the day. So, Yeah, that was an interesting one. Do you reckon you looking to go to it? You gonna watch it at home? What's the do a watch along and
We could all try to get together and watch it along. I don't like going to the fights in person. I want to watch it properly.
mm,
As nice as
yeah.
it is, like the atmosphere would be unbelievable. But you end up watching it off a screen anyway.
Mm.
You end up thinking something's landed when it hasn't. I like to sit there and actually watch the fight properly with a commentary and see what's going on.
Nice. That'll be good, man.
So trying to get home from Tottenham at 12 o'clock at night, long.
That is the thing, yeah. The commute after a show, unless you're leaving hours later, like it's another. It's like it's a mission. But then another one was what's your thoughts on that being the biggest boxing show in Britain in 2025 for no world titles? Like, what's your thoughts around that?
It is. It's for the Fatal Fury World Title.
No, but it's not real. Come on, it's not. That's not a real one, is it? Call that a cheap shot from me if you want. But yeah, that's honestly, it's probably the biggest main event without world title. But
Yeah.
I think, I mean, putting respect on their name, I think Callum Smith Boatsi was a bigger fight for no world title, in my opinion. just
Sorry,
just
the reason why but that's why I put in Britain
okay in Britain.
because obviously
My
we've
apologies.
had big fights, but as in like I'm
Yeah, but
saying,
is that because there's going to be no fights in Britain at the minute?
well, we do have fights. We had the weekend. The women's card is in like that.
The
That was a
boxing card.
good turnout. Do you know what I mean?
It's a good
Lauren
card.
Price,
Wicked
she did the
Royal
work.
Albert Hall, wicked arena.
Hmm.
So it's
But
like,
in terms of that draw that's going to get everyone in,
Hmm.
there's no offense to women's boxing that's not going to get the average fan in that just watches an
I was
AJ fight.
I was going to say that felt like a cheap shot there, Ruben. What are you trying to say? No, but you're right though.
Go and ask any average fan that watches just the big fights. Did they watch the boxing last weekend? I guarantee you they'll say who was on.
I mean,
And it's
basically,
shit because the women's boxing was pucker. It was a pucker night of boxing.
hmm.
mhm.
But
so
it's as sad as it is, it's true.
I want to make a comment. But I
Mhm.
just want to ask Kieran's opinion before I make this comment. So you know when AJ lost to Usyk, did you think AJ was going to win the rematch?
Did I think no? Did I hope yes?
Okay, no, I know, I know because how you feel and stuff, right? But the reason I was saying that is because the average boxing fan that would have seen Usyk score AJ uh, would think AJ comes back and beats him in the rematch. Do you know what I mean?
Oh no.
Oh yeah, just is just going to knock him out in the rematch because that just doesn't happen. But
Mm.
so that sort of that is the boxing fan I think Ruben is alluding to when he's saying,
Yeah.
um, oh the average boxing fan wouldn't see last week's card as much of an event to watch kind of thing. Whereas for
It's
us,
not so much the average boxing fan. I just meant the fan. You know, like you get the people like, do you watch boxing? I watch the big fights.
Mm.
It's like
mm,
right. So you watch like the when AJ fights or the Fury fight, but you don't watch like for instance, if you went to them last weekend. But I've had customers. I went, you watching the boxing this weekend? Who's it on? I'm like, it's like the biggest card. Like you got the Bivol Beterbiev, and they're like, oh, what them two like Russian geezers, isn't they? I'm like, how do you
yeah. So basically,
get those sort of fans?
basically
Mm.
the fans that won't watch unless there's a Brit interest in the main event.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
and that's it. I see it right now. It's almost like outside of AJ, even I'd say Chisora. Obviously, outside of AJ Fury, Chisora, and obviously Eubank and that Eubank Ben. I feel Chisora is still one of those names which could still almost bring the numbers in terms of like he's almost a crossover. He's not quite crossover. Like I'd say he's still like a boxing. You got to be into your boxing to kind of follow and know him. But as in like he's more crossover than let's say like obviously we got world champions who who will fight this year and will barely get would struggle to get 100,000 pay per view or even struggle to even put on a pay per view. So I think it would be interesting because I think even like Katie Taylor and Serrano 3 has been announced, and like I don't think that's going to be in Ireland. That's probably going to be on another Netflix card and stuff like that. But yeah, it's interesting, and that's kind of not a cheap shot to the industry, but more of like an expression to show that the viewership isn't based on talent alone. If oftentimes is less based on talent, is more based on brand. And like, who would you say outside of the Ben Eubank name do you think could be outside of the Eubank name? Who else do you think could be fighting a Brit who could essentially almost get as close to that this year in terms of viewership, revenue, like bringing in the eyes and bums on seats?
That's a tough question. That's a tough question. I mean, we all know AJ still sells. He will still sell, no matter what.
Mm,
He is a brand in himself, right? But
mm,
but I think boxing fans know AJ's limit,
mm,
Yeah.
you know, and unless he can turn something around and learn something new, um, uh, improve somehow,
mm,
tactically improve somehow that still allows him to throw that big KO punch that he has.
mm,
Um, yeah, yeah, maybe that it wouldn't sell because because people know where his limits are. I mean, I'm trying to think. But the reason I think Ben Eubank sells is not because they're two British fighters. I think it's because they're two sons of two legendary British fighters. I think
It's the whole rivalry, isn't it? That's what sells it.
they're
Simon Jordan said the other
absolute.
week, he went, without,
I
sorry,
don't
Sad,
think
but he
there's
said,
anything bigger than them.
Simon Jordan said the other day on TalkSport, some people love him, some people hate him, but I thought, to be fair, he's got a point. He went, without the names, this is two half decent fighters fighting at like British level.
Hmm.
And I thought, all right, they're a bit
mm,
better than half decent, but he's got a point in terms of one's won an IBO and he's never achieved what he should have.
Hmm.
Whenever he stepped
mm.
up in level, he's lost, and he's fighting someone yet 2 weight divisions below him. Ben's biggest biggest win was Ortiz or
Well, Algeria? Yes.
Algieri, Van Heerden.
Mm,
I love Ben, but he's not had that big fight where you go, fuck me, he's beat him.
mm,
So in terms of, if we took away the name, it wouldn't have sold as
I mean,
much at all.
he's KO'd some fighters faster than other big names have beaten them. Do you know what I mean? Like that Garcia. Is it Garcia? I'm trying to remember. Is it Samuel Garcia or something like that?
Ortiz was it or
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Ortiz.
Ortiz? It was
Samuel
Ortiz.
Ortiz.
It's in like
Yeah,
not is in like
basi-
45 seconds or something, wasn't it?
yeah, basically the budget version of Virgil Ortiz, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. But
cheap shot.
no, that's it. It wasn't Ortiz. It was Samuel Vargas. Samuel Vargas.
Vargas,
okay, yeah,
that's the one.
The
That's
budget
the one.
version of Fernando Vargas.
yeah.
Uh, so, uh, so Fernando Vargas was the one that was beaten by the likes of Pacquiao, and I don't know if Mayweather fought him, but he got beat by serious welterweights. But he but Samuel Vargas lost to Amir Khan on points, and then got KO'd in like 45 seconds by Conor Benn. Yeah, so that's kind of a fringe name, I guess. But and I keep coming back to the French guy that had him down three times
Cedric
in a
Payno.
yeah, exactly, Cedric Payno, and that's my worry for Eubank. Sorry, for Ben, in that Eubank can bang for one.
Mm,
Eubank can take a shot unless it's an elbow, um, and respectfully, it was an elbow from Smith
yeah.
that
But I
knocked him
think the
Yeah,
out.
uppercut after that elbow didn't help either. It's
Yeah,
like,
but
but
that's like it. That's like in UFC when someone gets knocked down and then gets pounded to the ground. Do you know what I mean? It's taking a shot after.
no,
I
hey,
mean,
I'm
he was
saying
he's
that.
out on the
Don't go,
floor.
he,
I'm just gonna still
he,
land another one into him.
he was out on his feet when he'd taken the elbow. And I listen. I love the Smith brothers. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
So I'm not having a go at Liam Smith for it. My point is, he came back and showed what you could do uh, against Smith. You know, my,
yeah.
I I don't think Eubank Jr. is over the hill. He's talking shit about the draining weight stuff. I think he'll be fine at one. What is it? What weight is it? Is it
So it's
160.
160?
160. He's allowed to get back up to 170. But it needs to be,
Um,
he can't go above 170 the morning of the fight or something like that.
yeah, and I think
He
he'll be
keeps
fine with
chopping
it.
and
I
changing
think
though, because sorry, Seth, but he was saying in the press conference, I think Eddie Earn was saying, whether he's just saying it or not, but Eddie Earn was going, the first negotiations for the first fight, you said that you wanted to weigh in, you only needed like another £7 rehydration clause, but in the second fight, you said you needed £10. So you've actually got more the second fight you did the first fight, and the first fight you said you'd have been fine. It's
Well, the
technically a
first
second
fight was
fight.
also dangerous, though. That's what it was more of.
yeah,
And that's why Senior was kind of alluding to, look, this is how problems happen. What you're trying to do is you're trying to line him up to have, like, don't go, now, as a fighter, we do crazy things that isn't making sense. But, and he probably would have made it work, but it's more one of those scenarios where it's like, meh, I'm not going to do that again because I almost, look what happened to me in my next fight after I tried to play along with that game. I end up
mm,
getting elbowed. So let me try and avoid this omen and not
mm.
not do it to that. But I get what you mean. Is it Eubank Junior will sell the story, and it makes entertainment as well to then be like, hey, I told them to pay me more, and they did. So it's like,
But can I just say as well, I love Ben's aggression. I think his style of fighting is a great style of fighting. From an entertainment point of view, I'm
Yeah.
concerned for his chin. I am concerned for his chin, but I also think he's going to lack power at that weight. think I think he's going to lack power to seriously hurt Eubank. And when
mm,
Eubank realizes that there isn't power, assuming I'm right in this, if he realizes that there's no power for him to be concerned about, then quite frankly, he'll walk him down and I think he could stop. I think he could stop Ben late. And I know you're going to go against me on that, Ruben, because you like Ben a lot. But I think Eubank Junior wins this with a late stoppage.
mm, okay. I'd say I'm gonna
Was that
go
was that
for
too early to make that prediction?
no, I think it's good to like, put it out
Might
there.
as well.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with a I do think it's Eubank's fight to win. Whether he's gonna be able to stop Ben is another question. Um I'll probably say he may knock him down or get some sort of like, yeah. I see him knocking him down. So I see him
If he
getting a
knocks him,
10-8 round.
if he knocks him down, that means Ben's not going to come at him in the aggressive style that he has come to kind of use,
Yeah,
or
but
become accustomed
then
to using.
he'll probably then but he'll probably make the 12th round. That's
Yeah.
more because essentially, like, because I was even watching a documentary yesterday, about Nigel Benn, just going back through his story, and then like you kind of see after his Watson loss, or no, after his Eubank loss, and he goes to America and he starts boxing over there. He was talking about how he learned how to box. So before that, he only knew one gear, is in like just on, and so then what happened is he went to America. He started boxing over there with them. First, he was getting himself beat up. And then after about 3 months, no one wanted to spar with him. And he kind of learned how to go through the gears. Like, okay, this is second, this is third, fourth, fifth. So he kind of knew how to adjust. And that's when he could become a 12-round fighter. But before then, he only had 5, 6 rounds in him. So I feel that with this upcoming fight, Nigel obviously being in his corner and his training and stuff will teach him. And the fact that he's fought a Eubank before, twice, he'll kind of teach him the gears
Hmm.
or remind him of the importance of the gears because that's going to be a potential concern for Ben. Like it's one of his strengths, i.e., is that one gear. But when you're up with someone who's going to be who's got the physical stamina to go the rounds, that may be at your downfall. If you've been in just one gear for the first 5 rounds
Agreed.
and you haven't got them out, that second half of the fight is going to be too long, and then you are prone to be stopped. So that's why
Yeah.
I feel that Eubank will still probably win because he's got the advantage in terms of size, weight, experience. Like everything's kind of on his favor. But I think Ben will give a solid account of himself. Where people be like, fair play. Do you know what? Respect. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then the rematch.
Uh,
Voila,
uh,
mate,
um,
just as
um,
much, if not more.
and what you thinking, Ruben?
I'm looking at it and I'm going, I watched Eubank's last fight, the one that was in Saudi.
Mhm.
He won convincingly, but at the same time, he
Who
fought
was
a
he?
geezer that was like a top 10 fighter. I think he fought like a few world title fights before, but never won one. and he was getting hit with just some simple stuff, man. His hands were down, and he was trying to do his usual head movement, this and that, and
he gets lazy and showboats when it's what he deems to be a subpar fighter. Come on,
yeah.
someone that he expects to walk through.
But even like the first couple rounds, when you've got to be on it, he was still getting hit with a couple simple things. And I'm thinking, reactions ain't there anymore. Not what they were. You're 36. Also, you don't know what he's like after. When your brain gets rattled, granted it was an elbow, but sometimes your chin never the same. Look at Joe Joyce, for instance. Obviously, he's very different. But that geezer had a chin that was like granite. All of a sudden, it got done once. After that, you can touch the geezer, and all of a sudden, his legs start to go.
It's like sandstone now.
Yeah, literally, right? So there's that to play into it. Whether Conor Benn pressures him and does land a big overhand right, can Eubank still take it? I just look at it and I go, right, Liam Smith was able to back up Eubank. And Liam Smith ain't as quick as Benn, ain't as ferocious as him. So I just think Benn will be able to get him into corner. I'm going Benn. I'm going inside 6. I'm gonna be very, very brave in my thing here. Remember Kelbrook versus Khan?
Yep.
Where Khan was giving it all this in the build up, so and so. Then all of a sudden, come fight night, was like, he don't look. His reactions ain't there. The speed ain't there, and yet
we were messaging. We saw it. We saw in the walk
in the
ring
walk for that.
That we both said Khan's gone. Khan's lost this. I mean, I liked Khan in his earlier years. Then he got a bit too big for his boots, I thought. But I always thought Kelbrook was going to win that fight. But I knew Kelbrook was going to win that fight when I saw the ring walk. Just
obviously this is slightly different because of the size difference and that thing comes into play. But no, me and Sage have always said that fight was always Kelbrook.
No, I see
but
that.
no, I'm going on a brave one. I'm going to say this could be very much like that. That Eubank is there for their last payday. He might owe Neymar £4 million. He might be really shit at poker. And then, yeah, I'm going Benn in 6. I just think it'd be too quick, too explosive. Even if he hasn't got the power, it'll be as his old man says, you'd be hit so many times with a right, you'd be begging for a left. It'd just be the amount of punches you'll get land because Benn is quick. Yeah, he's going up in weight, but he bowls round at about 170 anyway, 180 anyway.
I think he's. I think you're wrong, Rube. So I'm sorry, mate. I think you think going too much of your heart here. But this is me being bold. Do you know what I mean? I'm not one to shoot down a prediction normally. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and you are too, Rubes. But I think you want Conor to be like Nigel, and he's just not. Do you know what I mean? He's never going to be.
He's not like his old man, but neither is Eubank Jr. Neither of them are like their old man.
Correct.
Neither of them are.
Correct. I agree. But I do think this is a Eubank win for me. I can't see.
Eubank in his peak had 2 rounds. Granted, George Groves was unbelievable, but he had 2 rounds with Groves with one arm, and he couldn't.
Okay.
When he gets to that level, I just feel Eubank ain't.
But when you say to that level, is in.
But saying that Benn's not at that level either.
He beat the girl.
Yeah.
Would you say the girl was a better fighter than Benn?
Yeah, but at what point of the girl's career did he beat him? I'm trying to think. Was it the end of his career?
At the end of it, yeah, last one.
Yeah,
it was after he'd taken a battering from Badu Jack.
Yeah, then
as in he went to war with him. He didn't take a battering. Sorry, he went to war because they really. I
remember watching that fight. That was a good fight.
If he didn't get knocked down in the last round, he'd have won.
Last round, yeah.
So
last fight, the Gale, very different to Conor Benn's still fresh. Like it's the Gale is peak. Yeah.
Who remembers what happened to De Gale after he lost to Groves early on in his career? Like when he had to rebuild. Do you remember that he had a fight in Blue Water Shopping Centre? Like they put a fight on in Blue Water. Like what the actual? But anyway, so my point there is okay, fine. What about a peak Billy Joe Saunders? What do you think? Do you think?
Oh, Saunders beats the pair of them.
Right, beats the pair of them, but he scraped past Eubank Jr. in his.
That weren't peak. That weren't peak though.
He was on his way up, I guess.
That was on his way up. That was both on the way up at that point. Peak Saunders, probably Canelo.
Nah, he got beat by Canelo, remember?
Yeah, but that's still peak Saunders.
Mm,
Saunders
yeah,
at that point was probably the peak of his powers.
fair. I think he'd had a long layoff there. I think Peaks Saunders
Or what was the
was
fight? The fight when he fought? Who was the Canadian French geezer he fought?
Lemieux,
Lemieux.
David
Definitely
Lemieux.
Lemieux.
Lemieux. Yeah,
There
Yeah.
you go. That's peak Saunders.
yeah. Agreed.
When
Yeah,
you'd
yeah.
make you miss and start taking the piss and start showboating, that's peak Saunders. He was
Yes.
active, didn't have a long layoff, and he was on his game.
But my
But
point
yeah,
is, I think I just think it's gonna. I think Eubank Jr. might have too much for him. He's not going to take Benn lightly. I don't think at all. He's talking rubbish about the 60% stuff and all that, like not being at 100%.
Of course, he's not. He's going to be 150%. He's going to be the best he can ever be.
He is going
to. Well, he's going to prepare the best he's ever going to be.
He is going to be 160 pounds on the button. He's going to be 170 pounds the following morning on the button, and then he's going to rehydrate even more. So after that, he's going. He when he goes in the ring, he's going to be about 185 pounds.
Yeah, it should be a good one. So to close off for today's episode, obviously we got the Fisher and Dave Allen rematch, and then the last bit Roach versus Tank. So obviously with the Fisher versus Dave Allen, there isn't that much to say because it hasn't happened yet. But are we happy about the news?
I'm happy about the news. The only thing I'm unhappy about is I think Dave Allen had his opportunity to win. He should have won it, and that would be the end of it. It should have been a rematch, and it should have been a Fisher basically trying to win the rematch to show that he's still something. But I think what's going to happen is Fisher's going to have gone away, know what he needs to do to and learn what he needs to do. Sorry, to beat Dave Allen and not let himself get caught in the same way he did, and not get too caught up in a war. If he gets caught up in a war, he loses. He will get hit because Dave Allen's got
the same as the first fight.
Dave Allen has been knocked out by a lot of fighters now, but he's still got a granite chin. Do you know what I mean? Or a few fighters, sorry, not a lot of fighters. He's taken some blows. I think Dave Allen will still has a granite chin. So yeah, that's just my opinion. I think Johnny Fisher will stay out of a war and win it comfortably.
Points. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Same here. I think Fisher again, the younger fighter, more going like Dave Allen. Yeah, solid again, solid opponent, and I like his honesty, personality wise. Top British heavyweight. But yeah, I just feel that at this stage and the trajectory is happy that both men are getting another payday, which is good. But I feel Johnny Fisher will work it out and be able to decipher things to not get hurt as much in this fight and to be able to do more damage to Dave. So that should be a good one. So if we just finish then on Roach versus Tank, what do you think of that one this weekend? What do you think of like even just obviously that fight? I think it's kind of we don't have to kind of go back and forth. We know we could all probably agree that it was a count. It should have been a count where or I think somebody even said, I forgot which one person they said it could have. Roach should have won that fight in 3 different ways. Either 1, 8 count, so 2 extra points there. Second is he
turns his back to the ref, which means you pretty much give up. And
so therefore they could call the fight off there and then because you've turned your back away to the fight. You don't want any more action. Third
is his people stepped in the ring.
Voila, getting involved DQ. So whichever way you look at it.
I sent you guys the video. I don't know if you've
Oh, yeah. That's it. I'm out here quoting it like it's a gem. Yeah, there we go. I knew that's where I got it from. Yeah, you sent it over. So
But,
so I think that was probably a good summary of like in terms of why I feel that Roach should have at least. Yeah, I'd say I prefer to just say he should have lost that point. I'm not saying he should have won because if that change happened, then the rest of the fight would have changed. If you've now been told that you got those 2 points, I'm not saying that Tank would have won either. He could have been stopped. Do you know what I mean? Because Roach, I think he was trying to hurt Roach, and Roach was like, "Come on, then let's have it," and giving it back to him just as much. So I think Roach probably would have won, but I don't like to change one thing and then say, "Oh yeah, if that one thing changed, because then that changed the whole dynamics of how the next few
But
rounds go."
but taking the knee is the changing one thing that
Yeah,
uh, you can't predict what happens thereafter. But quite frankly, it should have been stopped when he turned his back. It should have been stopped on a DQ
He
basis
jumped in the ring.
exactly,
yeah,
simple as that. So if we're going to go into it, those two changes would have changed the outcome for stop.
yeah,
And then the sad thing is for Roach, they'll probably have a rematch. And if they do, Tank could end up sparking him out like he does with everyone else he has done before. Then it's
I
just
don't think it.
I,
think
I don't think he will, but
Roach
I'm
is
saying the
tough.
sad thing
Roach
is
is
if it
tough.
does happen, then it's just like it's shit
And
for Roach because technically he should be the world champion at the minute and he should be the man that's
putting a
beat
bit
Tank.
putting a bit more respect on his name as well. On Lamont Roach's name in the lead up, so many people were saying, "How come Lamont Roach deserves the fight and not any of the other names in the division, like Shakur, for example?" Actually, do you
mm,
know what? I'm chuffed that it came out the way it did because now Lamont Roach should get the respect that he deserves. He
Yeah.
deserves to be up there with those names. Simple as that.
mm,
And such as me and you have always said for years, Lomachenko would school Tank.
I think so
mm.
too. I think Lomachenko when we've talked about it over the years, yeah, but an inactive Lomachenko now, I don't know what I don't know what he's got left. I don't know if he's
Lomachenko
retired either. Because
now,
I mean,
not
we've
so
had this
much,
conversation too. Hmm.
but 2 seconds, sorry. Lomachenko now, not so much. Lomachenko at his peak, yeah, Lomachenko at his peak was one of the best fighters it's been technically you've seen
But
ever.
we knew that was a fight that was never going to happen because that fight was touted when Davis was under Mayweather's wing, and when he was under Mayweather's wing, Mayweather was never going to let him put himself at risk.
And I
Yeah,
think, and that would be the kind of circling back to Uncle Turkey and Uncle Dana, like that will probably be what would make those type of obviously I know he doesn't like them, so that for like
Mm.
Javante is a prize fighter who's making good money and doesn't need to take more risks than quote unquote he needs to, and I can respect that from a business perspective. From a fighter's perspective, obviously it can be frustrating to see one of your favorite fighters not in the fights where he can kind of prove himself to be, even just for him to be tested to his limits, which again I think Lamont did do, but is in like it'd be nice to see him against some other big names as well because it kind of helps with the build up and you feel that he'll wake up more for it. Because rather than I think
Mm.
this one, he almost spent more time trying to sell the fight to make us believe it's credible. That when we saw it actually was a credible, believable fight, it's like oh shit, like wait a second, like I should have been more excited for this one. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
but it's like we're spending more time trying to build the credibility, quote unquote, of his opponents versus him fighting just credible opponents where we're like, oh, okay, yeah, this one makes sense. He should be fighting this person. Let's see how he does. So I think that's a bit of obviously more of like a personal fan pain, but I don't think that's going to change personally. He's not jumping on the Saudi money train because he doesn't have to, quote unquote. He makes enough and he's got a model. Like he's not quote unquote Floyd, but he's got enough of a Floyd model to make serious bank with taking quote unquote, I'd say almost less risk than not saying less risk than Floyd, because everyone's taking risk, you're fighting their opponents. But if we list like the people who Floyd did fight, even if we say we cherry picked, he built himself up against names like Ryan Garcia's quote unquote Javante's biggest name, or one from back in the day. Who was that Cuban who was like looking to be a? I think Crawford also fought him. Gamboa, like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
yeah, those for me are like two standout names until I'm like, wow, fair, like good names. I'd like to see more big names. Like Pitbull was another name that it's almost that Javante gives people a platform to become a big name versus because they do half decent against him. It's like, well, fair play. If you did half, and then you see him fight other people, and you're like, yeah, this guy is serious. But it'd be nice to see him up against some other, as you said, the Shakurs or the Lomachenkos, other big names to kind of just
He'll,
see.
he'll
Yeah.
take the Loma. He'll take the Loma fight now because Loma's past his best.
Yeah, yeah, but I don't mean Loma now as much. I more mean like, yeah, probably someone in his mix. Even Haney, it's more like to take now, I guess. But
Yeah,
Haney's no
yeah,
yeah,
joke.
what's
I'd
your
say.
thoughts on the whole Tank situation? Because I almost feel that he's his own entity. Canelo was holding out before, but obviously now Turkey got to him, so now he's shunning the WBC like a lost stepchild. But I
I
mean,
think
like, yeah.
honestly,
Mm,
Kieran, I could see Javonta going that way too. I mean, bear in mind, I'm assuming it's still the same. He's converted to Islam now as well, right? Uh,
mm,
so he's going to be all for being in Saudi with the Saudi. Uh,
100%.
me and Ruben said this before we even talked about doing this podcast that we think Javonta Davis converted to Islam because he wanted some of the Saudi money, and I don't mean that, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way to the religion or anything like that. And but yeah, obviously we said it tongue in cheek. Do you know what I mean?
mm.
but but uh, uh, but yeah, um, I think he'll definitely go for the Saudi money without a shadow of a doubt. Because I don't
I
think this has helped
think
him.
everyone will.
This fight has not helped him build his brand. Therefore, he's going to need to find other ways of getting bigger
He's going to
paydays.
have to. Yeah.
No, that's good. Well, boys, I think that's perfect time again. Another great episode of Cheap Shots podcast. So again, making sure that you like. If you've watched till this part, thank you for following. Make sure you do like, subscribe, and then comment below with your favorite piece of content, favorite thing we shared, who you think is upcoming in the boxing world, people we should look out for if other names haven't been mentioned. And yeah, we look forward to continue coming with cheap shots and within the boxing world, again, for the fans, by the fans, and just sharing our journeys.
Perfect. See you guys
Anything
later.
else to add, boys?
Nope, that's all.
All good, man. Thanks everyone watching.